Let's talk about a bit of good news here in South Africa. Now, there is much speculation as to when a vaccine for COVID-19 will be ready, with some suggesting that one could be available to the public as early as September or October of next year, provided, of course, that it is safe. Yesterday, Wits University and the South African Research Council made a landmark announcement that they were beginning clinical trials for the first African COVID-19 vaccine today. This at a time when local infections are rapidly rising. Let's find out more. We're joined by Professor Jeffrey Mphahlele, who is the Vice President of Research at the South African Medical Research Council. Professor, great to have you. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Leanne, and good morning to the viewers.
So quite a milestone for South Africa to be a part of this. Of course, South Africa, unfortunately, looking at numbers that are the largest at the moment on the African continent. And we're starting that trial from today. This, of course, as we know, is a collaboration with the University of Oxford and the Oxford Jenner Institute, as well as the Bill Gates Foundation. Talk to us about this.
So it is an exciting moment for research because, it couldn't have come at the right time other than now. The trial, as you rightly say, is starting today and is a partnership between South Africa and the UK, in particular University of Oxford. So the enrollment will start today, and they are looking to enroll at least 1,900 participants. And the main purpose of this trial is to look for the efficacy of the vaccine, because if we can prove that the vaccine candidate is efficacious in humans, this is actually the last step that is required for a vaccine can be registered and licensed human use.
All right. Talk to us as a non-scientist now, how these trials actually work, how you manage to choose the people that will be a part of this trial. I know that the very sick are not included, pregnant people are also not included, but there's a wide range of other people that will be included in this. So perhaps talk to us about how these trials are going to work.
For every clinical trial, you do have inclusion and exclusion criteria. So for this trial in particular, they will be looking at healthy individuals, at least 18 years of age, because that is the age where a volunteer or a participant in a clinical trial can be able to do a consent. And you should be healthy. You shouldn't have been exposed to COVID-19 previously, because the main purpose of this trial is to show that if you participate in the clinical trial and later get exposed to infection, you can be protected if the vaccine works.
Okay.
So there are some inclusion criteria.
So when you use these trials or you do these trials, I'm asking you questions like I'm standing on the street and we're having a conversation, and I hope South Africans enjoy this, because this is, for me, very, very fascinating. So you find an individual who has agreed to take part in this trial. They're 18, they're fit, they've never had coronavirus. You give them this injection or this vaccine, as we call it. Do you then expose them to the coronavirus and see what actually happens? Is that how it would work?
So we don't intentionally expose participants of a clinical trial to infection. The reason you need to do a clinical trial in an area where there is high burden of infection is because the participants will be exposed naturally to the infection. So now that the infections are rising in South Africa, is actually the best moment to do a research like this one, because those who participate in a clinical trial will be exposed most probably to infection. And the good thing is that for any trial, you have a group that will receive experimental vaccine. And then you also have a group that will receive what we call a placebo. So there's no vaccine, but neither the researcher nor the participant know whether they received the vaccine or a placebo. And when you unblind the results and do the analysis, you are able to tell whether the group that received the vaccine, the experimental vaccine, was protected better than the group that received placebo.
Yeah.
So that's how you show efficacy in terms of clinical trial.
Two things that I find quite fascinating is that this particular trial is also going to be used on people that are also HIV positive in the one instance. Perhaps you can talk to us about that. And then the next part of your answer, if you don't mind talking to us about the period of time that you're looking at to put this data together. So how long a time are you looking for this trial to see, how long it protects an individual?
Yes, so there is going to be a group of HIV positive individuals, about 50. Half will receive the vaccine candidate and half will receive a placebo. So there are mainly two reasons to do this group. One is to show that the vaccine candidate is safe in HIV positive individuals. As you can imagine that in Africa, we have got high burden of HIV. It would be useful to really evaluate this vaccine in HIV positive individuals. And then the other reason is just to show if you can observe the same efficacy, more or less, in this group, if you compare the results to HIV negative individuals. And that will be the larger group. So you then have to follow the participants for a certain period of time. And for this study, the plan is to follow the participants for at least a year to show that if they are exposed, they are protected or not protected.
So now, okay, we follow them for a year. This is not the only trial that is taking place. I think you obviously are privy to the exact number, but I believe there are in excess of 200 different trials taking place around the world of different vaccines. But this is special to us because it's the first on the continent and obviously coming from South Africa. So perhaps talk to us about how many trials are now running concurrently.
Yeah, the numbers keep on changing because there are a number of groups that are developing vaccine globally. Currently, we have got over 260 vaccine candidates that are under development, but not all of them have entered clinical trials in humans. Those that are in clinical trials, I think they are about 5 or 6. And this particular trial is one of the 6 clinical trials that are in humans currently. So it's not like all 200 plus are currently in human trials.
If we look forward, could there be a possibility that there would be more than one vaccine with the amount of trials that are taking place? I know you mentioned this is a human trial, which is great for us and hoping that this will work. But if in fact there are other successful ones, could we have more than one vaccine available for treating COVID-19 and protecting humans against it?
Most probably we will have 2 or 3 vaccines by the end of next year. The 3 vaccines that are front runners, we have got a vaccine from Oxford that is being tried in South Africa. Then we have got a vaccine from the US. It's also at advanced stage. They will start, efficacy clinical trials very soon. And then we also have a vaccine candidate from China. They seem to be ready to be going for efficacy trials as well. And it will be good news to the world because if you only have one vaccine, this means that you're going to have problems in terms of global supply, because as soon as the vaccine is available, I can guarantee you that each and every country in the world like to have the vaccine, and the more we have, the better for the world.
So when we look at this, how long have you been working on this for? Because we've been told from yesterday's announcement that this is almost along the lines of, obviously not the same as the flu vaccine, but along those lines. And we know that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have also been partnering, as well as Oxford University. How long have you been working on this for? And specifically trials taking place here in South Africa. Some people are a bit worried about that, saying, why isn't it being tested somewhere else? And why only here in South Africa? I suppose you could answer that quite simply, that it's, a South African vaccine, if in fact it does come true. But perhaps talk to those people that are concerned about why we're putting this to South Africans.
It's a very good question, but I can tell you that there's no need for the general public to be worried about this particular clinical trial. In fact, South Africa is coming into the trial towards the end of different stages of conducting clinical trials of this vaccine, because the preclinical studies were conducted some time ago, and the vaccine candidate has been used for other viruses. The initial or the original SARS virus, and also for other viruses. So they just used the same technology and the same backbone to then engineer the genes that are coming from SARS-CoV-2. And these genes are expressing the viral spike protein of SARS-CoV-2. And these are the proteins that will elicit immune response if injected in humans. And this has been done, and the vaccine has shown to be safe in animals. And after that, the vaccine has been shown to be safe in humans during phase 1 clinical trials. And all these trials were done in UK. And where we are at the moment, this is efficacy trial. So it's phase 2, phase 3 stage of testing the vaccine. So in terms of safety, there shouldn't be any concerns because the vaccine has already been shown to be safe. But it is still important to show that the vaccine is safe in thousands and thousands of volunteers. So South Africa is just one of the countries that is testing the vaccine. US will be testing the vaccine. I think more than 30,000 participants will be involved. We know that Brazil will be testing the vaccine as well. Thousands and thousands of participants will be involved. And the UK, where the vaccine has been developed, is still continuing with the test. At the moment, they've given the vaccine to 1,000 participants. And the target is to give the vaccine to 10,000. And in South Africa, we're only talking about 2,000 participants. So you can see that South Africa is actually part of many countries that are involved in this clinical trial.
Well, I think that you've put all the naysayers to sleep there, hopefully, with some of the comments that were coming out yesterday. So this is being tested not only in South Africa, but it's also a trial that's happening all over the world. But listen, it is good news, and we do hope that this bears fruit for, of course, this fight against COVID-19. But nothing will come this year. It's only looking to be at the end of next year. So we're with this for a while. That was Professor Jeffrey Mphahlele, who is the Vice President of Research at the South African Medical Research Council, talking to us about the first trials for the COVID-19 vaccine to begin today in South Africa.